Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Iyanu Holiday Livestream. My name's Jay Agbaje, and really excited. I'm going to be introducing our next segment. It's called the Comic Book Origins. We're going to be diving into the story behind Iyanu, Child of Wonder. And this panel is going to be all about where the universe started. We're going to talk about how the graphic novels came to life. We're going to be dealing with how the world and the characters were shaped from the page to the screen, and how it all became this big animated show that we love today. So, joining me are the creators, the guys who helped bring everything to life. And we're going to let's start with Roy. Hey, Roy, you're going to introduce yourself first, and then we're going to just move all around the room. So, Roy first.
So, first of all, why are you talking like an American, man? Like all of us, we're all Nigerians. I'm just messing with you.
I
Um,
know. Yeah. Like this is the fourth time we've done this and he's coming for me. Really? Oh man, when I see you.
don't worry, don't. We have a long day for that one. But no. My name is Roy Okupe. I am the creator of the Iyanu graphic novel, also the creator of the Iyanu series, which launched on Cartoon Network earlier this year, HBO Max, now in Showmax in Africa, ITVX in the UK, ABC iView in Australia. Yep, and I'm happy to be here with my buddies, my good friends who I've been working with for way too long, by the way.
Wait. Harsh. All right, Godwin, time to fire back.
Hey, Jay, man, what's good? I'm Godwin Akpan, currently based in Lagos, Nigeria, and it's so exciting to be here on the panel alongside my superhero friends, Morby, Sukomi, and Roy. I've worked with Roy on Iyanu since I can remember, maybe 2020. I think that was where our journey on Iyanu started. So super exciting to see where it's got into at this point. Having it airing on Cartoon Network and HBO is definitely a dream come true. And to see what actually started as a comic transition into TV animation is actually really exciting and super happy to be here to talk about it.
Sukami, tell us who you are, man. Bring it on.
My name is Sunkanmi. I'm based in Lagos, and I've been working with Roy and YouNeek since give or take 2017. And beyond the Iyanu, I mean, I've done a bunch of other books, and I'm really happy that I finally joined the Iyanu bandwagon. Yeah, so I mean, it's awesome being part of this, seeing how far Iyanu has gone. I mean, it's on HBO, it's on Cartoon Network. I mean, just getting news updates every day was just a boost. It's it's uh it's amazing.
So, all right, so we're gonna have Morby give us his intro.
Hey everyone, my name is Morby. I'm the color artist on the Iyanu books, specifically Volume 4 and Volume 5. I've been working with Unique since 2020, but I just got the privilege to join the Iyanu bandwagon in 2023. I'm so glad to be part of this. To me, I feel like this is just making history, bringing African culture, Yoruba culture to a wider audience, and helping to inspire a next generation of kids. So yeah, so glad to be here with you guys.
All right, Morby, great, awesome. One more person I think Roy wants to give a shout out to. Roy, who is it?
Yeah, Chimakalu, who has been instrumental. He was also on volumes 2 and 3 as the artist. Godwin colored those books as well. So we wanted to make sure we didn't we mentioned him as well because he's been instrumental for the success of Iyanu.
So, when would you say that the story of Iyanu started? Like, when would you say this journey began?
Wow. I mean, I think 2018 was the first time I sort of like had a concept in my head where I wanted to create a young African superhero character that had agency, but also somebody that, pretty much anybody from around the world could see as well, see themselves in. And I remember reaching out to Godwin, and I was like, I didn't even really have a full story or idea. At that point in time, I was like, Godwin, we need to create a magical being that's 14 years old and that everybody's going to love. And Gordon was like, hold my beer. He doesn't drink, sorry. So it was like, hold my something, right? And he went off and he created this beautiful image. Actually, it's the one behind me, if I can find it. This one right here. That was the first, yeah, that was the first Iyanu illustration that he did, and I just fell in love with the character at that point. And from there on, obviously, I started to then research how to bring in Yoruba culture, because that was another big thing that I wanted to do in a graphic novel that I hadn't really done up until that point. And yeah, the rest is history.
So one thing I like is how you said his reaction was homemade beer. I wanted to touch on that.
Yes.
Everybody, tell us when you first heard about this story, touching on it. What was your reaction? Like, how did it make you feel? Like, oh, this is a great idea. What's your thought about the concept? Or did you think Roy was crazy?
I mean, they do think I'm crazy, by the way, in fairness, but I'll let them talk.
Yes, like Roy said, he didn't lie when he actually said, I'm like, this is brilliant, this idea you have, right? That was the first time we talked about the coming up with a character like Iyanu. And for a very long time, I've also always wanted to do a character that was based on a really like strong um, hero character, right? That imbibes everything about the African culture. And prior to now, it was very rare to see something that had been created, that was based on, something that I could relate to, at that level. Because Iyanu was a story that when you see it, you instantly resonate with the fact that, oh, this is an African idea that, we're trying to bring to the forefront.
But like Godwin said, I think up until in 2018, right? This was, this a very long time ago now. Wow, it's like what 8 9 years now. There weren't a lot of stories. There's still not a lot of stories like Iyanu. And I think for us, we saw it both as an opportunity, but also it was a mandate. I feel like that's the one thing that I think everybody sort of like feels when they come on the project, where they feel like a responsibility to do justice to the story, just because of how important it is to the culture, how important it is to the continent. And I think for me, like, it's really been a privilege um to go ahead and work with everybody on this panel, both in the graphic novel space and for the animation as well.
As a fan of the process, I love hearing about this. One thing I'm curious about though is, so Iyanu, I can understand. You see her, she's real. Then you start thinking, who's she going to interact with?
Yeah.
You start creating all these characters. Who was your favorite character from the start to create apart from Iyanu? I'm going to leave her out of this for a second.
I mean, that's like, I mean, if I ask you who's your favorite kid, I mean, how would you? I mean, everybody has a favorite, by the way. Luckily for me, I have only one child. But I mean, if I to answer your question, it has to be Ekun.
And we all know Roy's a world builder. We'll touch on that. But bringing that into actual visuals, images that people can look at and think, that is, I can see this in this character. How does that work for you?
I think I and Roy, we kind of share very similar artistic influences, right? A lot of the times when he has an
Yes.
idea, in most cases, it always synchronizes with what I'm thinking about. Like 99.9% of the time. So it was a bit easier for me to work with him, right? It was very rare for me to say, oh, this thing is not working, it doesn't make sense. Because most times when he says it, I'm always like, yeah, this kind of feels like what I would also do if I was creating something of this sort. So Roy's research and collection of history from the Yoruba mythology was very instrumental for me, right? Because when we initially started talking about it, I had to go read all these documents that he had written from God knows how many years ago, and those were like the building blocks. Those were like the foundation for what I would create based on Iyanu, right? Or your empire had so much history and lore, and I was able to tap into some of those while designing both the world building and the characters, because I did a lot of the character designs for the graphic novels before we even got into animation.
Working as a team and keeping the consistency and the flow, we all see Roy's vision coming to life. I guess what I'm curious about is Godwin was working as the initial illustrator, and then Sukami worked on some of the other books, creating and that collaborative work. Sukami, tell us a little about like how was it for you coming on board and jumping into this world and keeping like the characters and the world consistent, making sure these Yoruba cultural details were there and everybody could look at it and recognize what they were seeing as consistent and keeping that heart the same?
All right. On this part, I'm gonna have to give Roy the props. You said something. Roy is a world builder. Roy is a planner, and anytime I get on any project with Roy, he has everything down exactly the way he wants it. So, I mean, on my own end, I get to give him some requests. Oh, I need a turnaround for this character. I need. But one thing Roy does, Roy is very good at managing people. Roy is very good at responding. There's no, oh, I sent you a message and then within 24 hours, you're going to get a response. So he had everything set, design, the
Mm,
details, how many beads on her neck, should it be two, should it be three? He was invested enough to be able to keep track of all these details. I think that made a lot of difference because as an artist, you're drawing something and you get lost in what you're drawing and you draw only one bead on the neck. Roy's gonna point out to you like, oh,
right.
you missed you missed one. So yeah, I mean it's I'm gonna give him
Roy is the
yeah,
man.
he's the man when it comes to that. So he kept everybody in line and that's awesome. I learned a lot from
Yeah.
him in that regard.
Morby, you coming aboard this running train as it's moving, it's left the station, coming aboard later. What was that like for you? And looking at it almost with outside eyes, how has it grown? How is the visual language, looking at it as a person who contributed and also now has to observe a little bit as well? How do you feel like there's been any transition or any differences, but not even differences, but also just the look between what you've seen on the page and what you helped create on the page to the visual palettes that you see on screen? Because those are two different things. And watching the show, you know what I mean? Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I'm a big fan of anything called fantasy. Anything fantasy, I'm just like a big fan. So I've been itching to get my hands on that IP. Like I said, I've been working with Unique on other things while Iyanu was still going on. So I was always like, so immediately like sent me like the first test pages to like, oh, I want you to try your hands on this and see if you can achieve Godwin style. And I've also been like a big fan of like Godwin as just another amazing artist. So it was really really cool to try and sink my teeth into it. Also like retain the style, the visual tone that Godwin had set, right? But still try to bring something of what I feel like the vision I see of like Iyanu, right? Um, so that was like always like a easy thing to do because like I'm a fan of like the genre, but definitely I see like it as, especially when it transitions to animation, it now has its own language that is a bit different, from the comic book, right? Which is something that I'm so proud to see. It's something that is more mature now. It definitely seems like it has its own style, and I see like it's just a thing that will have its own template that I think other people will definitely try to be copying for the next like 10, 20 years in animation. So yeah.
Right, right. Fantastic, man. So I have a confession to make. I started reading the books, and then when I heard I hadn't finished it, and I kind of had a lag. So when I heard it was going to become a show, I was tempted to go back and finish. And I say, you know what? No, I'm going to wait for the show. So how that leap from page to screen,
Hmm.
what was different in terms of the storytelling tone, and then
Yeah.
also the action sequences? Because it's one thing to draw the action,
Hmm.
right? It's another thing to animate it and the fight
Hmm.
sequences. So tell us a little about that for you, Roy, like what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's one of the things I'm really proud of with Iyanu is that obviously, for the graphic novels, right, it was an all Nigerian team. One of the things I clearly wanted to do in the beginning, even with the humor, is that Nigeria people, Nigeria, our humor is different. Like we're very
Yeah.
sarcastic. A lot of things we say, like we're rude, and when we like people, we abuse. Like so, all of these different things, right? I didn't want to dilute them, and you see when you're reading the comic, you get to see just how Nigerians like our humor, right? I mean, it's popular now with Afrobeats and Instagram, so a lot of people are more exposed to it now. But back then, that was a huge risk. But one of the things I'm really happy about, again, thankful to Lionforge that they allowed me as a creator to express myself. But even people like Brandon Easton, a head writer who led the writers' room, was very welcoming of that. right? So there are certain things that usually, because people don't necessarily, it's not their style, they reject it and they push against it. But in the entirety of the writers' room with Kerry, Matt, Ivory, and everybody in there, they were very welcoming to talk about, okay, oh, tell us jokes about jollof fries and your beef with Ghana and all these different things. Like all of that were discussions. And again, for me, like I said, like just having the opportunity to not have to dilute myself when it came to the animation, because obviously the animation has a bigger market. It's a bigger medium. It's going to reach. It reaches more people. And
Mm.
usually, when people take a book that's so authentic, they want to then Americanize it in a way where it's like, oh, this is going to be for a bigger audience. But for us, we went with the inverse, where I wanted to go deeper authentically and do it in a way where we didn't, exclude anybody from any other part of the world. So yeah, I think a lot of the things you see in the graphic novel, again, our job was to heighten it, not change it. And I think if you've watched the show, everything that I'm saying, you can definitely validate as well.
So this is a question I'm going to ask for everybody here. Um, Working on especially those who worked on the comic book version of it, right? Like you worked on just from that point. For everybody who's here and not here, what was the moment? Because for me, I'm as proud of this as if I was one of the creators, which is amazing. I brag about this show to white people from Tennessee and people in New York. But I'm telling you, when I heard it was picked up by Dark Horse, then I heard it was jumping into the screen. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like really impressed. So what did it mean as you watched the show, as you saw this thing evolve? And at what point did you feel, okay, this is going to be huge? Because you talked about the collaboration with Lion Forge. I wanted to just bring in the journey from comic to
Mhm.
screen and Dark Horse's role and Lion Forge. So tell us a little bit about that. And I'm going to let everybody here jump in. When you heard one thing or the other, how did you feel? When you heard of one achievement, how did you feel?
Let's start with Sukomi.
All right, all right. So, in response to that question, I mean, Roy is very humble. I mean, he calls me and he goes, "Oh, we got a book deal with Dark Horse." I want to freak out, but he's like, take it easy. Just, we're still working it. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And then next thing he says, "Oh, we're going to, it's going to be animated, and Iyano's going to be animated." And I'm like, really? And it's like, yeah, but it may or may not get green light. I'm like, oh, okay. So each time, I don't get the required amount of freaking out I'm supposed to do. It's like your dude calls you and says, "Hey, bro, I'm going to space, but chill. It's not a big deal." That's what Roy does. So when I realized that this was really big was when I saw the first clips of it, and I thought to myself, and I saw it moving. I'm like, he said this wasn't awesome. He said it wasn't like this. He told me to chill.
I think for me, the moment was when I saw the first teaser of like the actual, because I was working in the comic department of it, so I knew the animation was in production. But I got to see the teaser just like every other person that is like outside. And when I saw the actual thing, I feel like that was the moment where I was like, yes, this is it. Cause it gave me that moment of like, I mean, I grew up watching Avatar, Bleach, Naruto, and I'm like, I really wish I could be a child in this generation and actually grow up with Iyanu, right? Because like 10 years from now, they'll be talking about it in their childhood. And that was the moment for me. When I saw the first animation teaser, I was like, yes, this is something transgenerational.
Mr. Godwin.
I mean, for me, it was pretty much like bringing a baby into the world, really, because the joy and excitement you get from
Yeah.
that kind of achievement, I don't know if anything else can equate to that, right? You've been slowly grooming this thing, and then it's out there for the world to see, and everybody's applauding you. I mean, for days, I was afraid to pick up my phone because there were so many messages of people just saying, "Wow, wow, you worked on that, you worked on that." Like, how do I respond to all these accolades? Like, it was just a lot, and it was so fulfilling to see that people genuinely cared for the show. People really were excited at what they were seeing. Because it's one thing to create something and get a negative response, but hearing all the positive feedback from Iyanu, it gave us such a big morale boost. And I felt like it was about damn time for people to see this. Yeah, it was because when you do something in comic book, there's definitely a limit to how many people get to see it. But when you expand that idea and bring it into TV, you reach a lot more bigger audience, and seeing that alone was just super
So
fulfilling.
jumping back to Roy, I want to talk about something here. So marshaling everybody together, working with them from the beginning, especially with Godwin going like from artist to art director, working with Lion Forge and having them work with you to keep everything consistent and keep the heart of the story true. What have you learned? Like, how has the process been of comic storytelling differed from the whole process of animation for you? Especially, and I've seen also looking at it, you've gone from story writer, creator to director. You got a directing credit. I'm like, my man. So tell us a little about that.
To me, it's not. I think it's not so different. I think for me, one of the things that I try to always leave room for is collaboration. I've actually been working with Sukomi and Gordon. They got the dates wrong. I remember I started working with Sukomi in 2015. That was because I remember, a gentleman, a mutual friend, Adele Elegba, introduced us. And I think Gordon in 2016 is when I started working with him. So I've been working on Morby obviously since 2020, but Sukomi and Gordon specifically, I've been working with them for like 10 years now or more. And one of the things I always feel like is that I have an artist's brain, but not an artist's hand, unfortunately. And I think when God created me, initially He gave me the art skills, but then He took it away and He gave those skills to Godwin and Sukomi. And the reason I'm saying this, let me land. The reason I'm saying this is because we get along so well artistically, right? I don't have to over explain things. And obviously, Moby to a lesser extent now because we are getting to the point where we're working over 5 years. But Sukomi and Gordon specifically, there's a lot I don't have to explain. Like Godwin said, we think alike, right? So it gives me more time to be nitpicky and talk about like, oh, it's only three beads instead of two. Like so that's why I'm allowed to do stuff like that because the things most people would make comments on, I don't even worry about that because we think alike. And I want to say this on this platform. All of them, including Morby and some of the other people that are not here, it to be that I've worked with, like I said, Chima Kalu, Ayodele Elegba, Iyanu would not be here without them. Like these are the people that helped me build a company, a
Hmm.
library of characters, beautiful characters and worlds and stories, and they deserve as much credit as they can get for what everybody is seeing in the world. But to get back to your question, I wanted to make sure I honored all the artists that have, given blood, sweat, and tears to get us to this point. But to answer your question, you know, the collaboration and the comic book space helped me tremendously when I went to animation because I wasn't at that point learning how to collaborate. Animation is all about collaboration. There's no room for egos, there's no room for trying to boss everybody around, at least in the environment that I was introduced in. So I was able to take the skills that I learned by being unselfish as a creator and take
Right.
that to a prop designer, an effects designer, a background designer, someone doing music, sound effects, all of these people you get to work with as a showrunner, you have to leave space and room for them to bring themselves into it as well. So to me, that was the biggest thing. And you get to see the parallels. Like one of the things that we have to be thankful for Lion Forge is they loved the book so much that there were a lot of things they wanted to keep the same way. So you get to see, I mean, there's literally comparisons between the book and the show where you see certain things are so close. And I think,
Hmm.
it's just an honor to what speaks towards the right way to adapt something where you take the best things and you take that to another level. And that's what we did with Iyanu online.
Roy's imagination and world building is so good. You end up wanting to go do research yourself. Like, okay, hold up. Is Yoruba culture this cool? And then also you can see the universe trying to creep in. I'm like, wait a second. I'm seeing something here. What is this guy doing? But that you put it so well. He is very humble. I mean, Roy, I'll tell you right now. People have told him I was going to be on this panel and talking about the show. I've got three other people who hadn't heard about the show who are going to start watching the show.
Awesome.
So just so you know, we're consistently
Yes.
expanding
So
and
thank
always.
you.
So we're going to be pulling to a close. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Godwin. Thank you, Sukomi. Thank you so much, Doing. Really, well, I'm going to say Morby for jumping on this call, and thank you to Lion Forge Entertainment, for supporting this live stream and supporting this whole Iyanu universe and for helping bring it to life. Um, Gotta say, stay with us. There's a lot more coming in today, including a sneak peek at Iyanu season 2. So don't miss it. Everyone say bye.
Bye.